Good morning students. Welcome to computer science class. Today here I am going to explain you about the disk storage. Means when you store the data on the hard disk, how the data will be stored. When you want to read the data, when you want to read the content from the hard disk, how it will be read. Okay, actually when we use the hard disk is actually a storage device, secondary storage device. In this hard disk, you can store a large volume of data, and whatever data you store in the hard disk, that is permanent in nature. Means if there is no power supply also, whatever content is there, that content will not be erased. Okay, but only one disadvantage is that if the CPU want to read the content directly, it cannot communicate with the hard disk. It has to communicate with the primary memory, and the primary memory will contact with the secondary storage devices. Okay, secondary storage devices is a device which stores large volume of data. Okay, and whatever content it stores, that content is magnetized. Okay, that is why if there is no power supply also, whatever content is there in the hard disk, that will not be erased from the memory. Clear? Now, when we'll go to the storage, how the data is stored on the hard disk. Okay, so there are different types of components which are used to store the data, which are used to read the content from a hard disk. Okay, now we'll come to a storage structure of the hard disk. This is a hard disk. Okay, so in the hard disk actually what happened is this circles. This circles is aluminium plates actually. It's aluminium disc which are coated with magnetized material. So here the disc are the magnetized material in two sides, so that whatever content stored in the hard disk, that can be stored permanently. Okay, so this magnetized disc are called as platters. Okay, so magnetized disc are called as a platters, which are used to store the content in a hard disk. Okay, and one hard disk may contain thousands of platters, which are used to store thousands, means huge volume of data it can accommodate. Okay, so here this aluminium circle disc coated with magnetized material. Why we are coating with the magnetized material means whatever content you stored the magnetized material, that cannot be erased. Okay, so these discs are called as the platters. Okay, and every platter consists of thousands of rings like this, circles. Okay, these circles are called as a tracks. The circles on that disc are called as a platters. Tracks which are used to store the content. Again, whatever tracks are there, that tracks are divided into different parts, and that parts are called as sectors. Okay, so this total platters is nothing but it is a collection of different tracks, and each and every track is divided into a number of parts, and each part is called as a sector. Okay, and each and every track and each and every sector is identified with the track number and sector number. So one sector can store up to 1024 bytes of information. One sector. Clear? No, this is a sector. So as already said, one hard disk is a collection of thousands of different types of different platters, and each platter is nothing but it is a collection of different tracks, and each track is divided into a number of parts that are called as segments. Okay, now sectors. Now each and every platter at the same track is called as a silk. Okay, each and every track, okay, at the same position, each and every track means what? Example, this is a one disc, this is a one disc and the one disc. Same track is nothing but it forms a cylinder. Clear? Tracks at the same position is nothing but the cylinder. And each and every cylinder is identified with the number. Okay? With the cylinder number also you can identify the track. And if it is track is identified, it is easy to identify the sector. Clear? So each and every track at the same position is nothing but as a cylinder. Clear? Now, these are the parts. You need to remember this part. Parts, platters, tracks, sectors, cylinders. Clear? Example, if you have 3 floors, 101, 201, 301, that is nothing but a one cylinder. Clear? Means at the same position. Now, come to spindle. Here, one more part is a spindle. Actually, what it is, spindle spins the platters. Why it has to spin? Because these tracks are used to store the content. Example, right now we are in this sector. Next, if you want to store the content in the second sector, it has to spin. Okay, so who will spin? The spindle will spin. Okay, so all these platters are connected with the spindle, and the spindle will spin the disc so that content can be stored on that particular position. Clear? If it is rotate, then only you can store the content. At one place we cannot store the content. So in order to rotate the platters, the spindle is used. Spindle is used to spin the platters. Okay, so that the desired position will get to write the content. Clear? This part's over. Now come to the boom. Boom is nothing but it is a collection of different read and write heads. Different read and write heads. What is the use of the read and write head? Read and write head is nothing but read head is used to read the content from the sector, and write head is used to write the content onto the sector. If you have this read and write head, then only you can read the content. You can write the content. And this boom is used to move this read and writer in and out. When it is on in, that particular content is read. When it is out, it is rotating. We can move to the second one. Understood? So boom is nothing but it is used to connect different read and write it. And for each and every platter, one read and write head should be there. Each read and write head is used to read content from that particular platter only. If you have 1,000 platters, means you should have 1,000 read and write heads. Clear? So this is only the different part. This is only the parts of the hard disk. Okay, read and write head, boom, spindle, platters, track, sector, cylinder, and rotation. Actually, this is used to rotate the spindle. Okay. Now here, each and every plotter is identified with the plotter number, and it starts from a 0, top to bottom. Similarly, track is this sector is also identified with the cylinder number and the track number. Clear? Now here, whenever the user want to read the content, any content, the reader write head is placed on the surface of the platter. So one point is there, when the read and write head want to read the content, it will read immediately the adjacent sector only it will read. Adjacent sector. Okay. So it can read the content which is adjacent to it. So whatever content you want to read, whatever sector it is there, so that should be it should be near adjacent to the read and write head, so that it can increase the throughput of the system. Clear? And in the system you have thousands of tracks, thousands of sectors, and thousands of cylinders. And if you have thousands of platters, means if you have thousands of read and write head, only one point is that read and write head it will read the content, it will write the content, it will write to the content which is very adjacent track to it. So in whichever track you want to read the content, you try to rotate the track and which moves to the very adjacent to the read and write head. Means immediately adjacent to the read and write head. Now when you come to a different, when you come to a disk, there are different factors which affects the disk access. The first one is seek time, latency time, and next transfer time, and the total access time. Actually, what is the seek time? Example, this is a track, and this is a read and write head, and this is a boom example. So this is a read and write head. So whatever time is required to locate the track, to locate that track is called as a seek time. Okay, so whatever time is required to move ahead to required track is called as a seek time. Okay, is a track. This example, these are the tracks, no? So whatever time is required to move to a particular track, example this one, that is called as a seek time. Now, the latency time. What is the latency time? Whatever time is required to locate the portion of the data. Actually, where the data is stored in the sector. So whatever time is required to locate the sector is called as a latency time. Okay, now come to a third one, transfer time. What is the transfer time? Whatever time is required to transfer data to the hard disk and to read data from a hard disk is called as a transfer time. Okay, so seek time is to locate the track and latency time is to locate the sector. Okay, now come to the total access time. What is the total access time? The time is nothing but it is the sum of latency time plus seek time plus total transfer time. That is nothing but a total access time of the hard disk. So whenever you are reading any content or you are writing any content to the hard disk, you need to see the total access time. If the total access time is less, means that is providing a quick response to the user, and it is more means it is providing a means throughput is very less. Okay, it is not responding to the user within a given time, within a required time. So response time is slow if the this access time is more. Clear? So whenever you are storing any content to the hard disk and whenever you are reading any content from the hard disk, then you need to read the total access time. Total access time should be less. Okay, so when the user want to write the content into the hard disk, then what boom will do is, first example, this is a platter and these are the tracks. So example, this is a boom like this will take. Example, this is a boom. So first it should locate the track. Okay, so after locating the track, wherever content is there, example, this is a track, and wherever content is there, sectors, it should locate the sector and it should read the content from the sector. Clear? So, and one point is there. Example, if you want to read this content, example, here you have 3-4 sectors. Your content is this sector. So when boom moves the read and write head, immediately this sector should be adjacent to the current sector. Okay. So what it will do, actually what boom will do, it will move read and write header in and out. So when it is moving in and out, the spindle will spin the track. So when it will spin the track, this wherever the data is stored, that sector should be adjacent to the current sector, so that the read and write head can read the content from a sector. Okay, so this is about the main things what you need to consider when you are storing a content into the disk and when you are reading content from the disk. Now, after this, in order to select, means in order to measure, how, in order to satisfy, means in order to increase the throughput, we need to schedule the disk, means how to rotate the disk and which sector should be given and how to locate the sector for disk scheduling. Means you need to do the disk scheduling. So in order to do disk scheduling, here we have a different types of disk scheduling algorithm. Now we'll discuss about the disk scheduling algorithms. So whenever you are giving a request to store the data and whenever you want to read a content from the hard disk, so there should be an appropriate method which can reduce the unnecessary rotation of the read and write head, so that it can increase the throughput of the hard disk. So actually in some cases what happened is whatever request the user is making is more than the read and write head movement. So in that case what happened, the throughput of the hard disk will come down. So in that case, what actually when it will happen, when more than one user is using the same thing, means in the concurrent access, this situation may arise. Okay, so actually how it should be means, whenever user is making a request, the read and write heads movement should be less, means unnecessary movement should be decreased. It will increase the performance of the hard disk. So when more than one user is requesting, there should be a mechanism which can handle the request of the user and which can increase the efficiency of your hard disk. So in that case, what operating system will do is, it will take the request from each and every user and it will arrange the request in the order and it will provide the services to the users one by one. So in order to provide services to the user, which method, which scheduling algorithm the operating system is using, that is called as a disk scheduling algorithm. Understood? So whenever more than one user is requesting for a hard disk resource, because hard disk is the resource. So what operating system will do? It will take all the requests and it will arrange in the order. And after arranging in the order, it will provide the service to one by one. So in order to provide a service to the users, what type of scheduling algorithm the operating system is using, that is called as disk scheduling algorithm. Okay, so how it should be actually, if operating system is selecting any disk scheduling algorithm, it should minimize the unnecessary rotation movement of read and write head. Means it should minimize the movement of read and write head, and it should provide the response very quickly and very fastly. So that should be the main objective of any disk scheduling algorithm. So here we have a list of few disk scheduling algorithm. Now we are going to discuss about that. Okay, now I'll give you the list. So here we have a few disk scheduling algorithms. First in, first out, shortest seek time, scan scheduling, circular scan scheduling, look scheduling, circular look scheduling. Just you take a screenshot of this. We'll discuss about one by one. So here you can see first in, first out scheduling, disk scheduling algorithm. So actually it is a simple algorithm. Already we discussed this type of algorithm previously also. So here what happened, the whichever process request first, that will be served first. Means whatever request the operating system is getting, it will serve the request in the sequential order, one by one. Okay, in this case actually the response time is increased. Response time increased means whichever request is coming first, that will be served first. Then what happened, the service time is increased. but throughput will be decreased. Okay, so how throughput will be decreased? Here I will tell you. See, here the number of tracks are there. Means one user is requesting for a 23rd track, one user is requesting for 89, and next is requesting for a 132, next 42, 187, 60. Means different users want content from a different tracks. Now you need to check how many times the head is moved, the head is traversed through the tracks. Okay, here first actually where the this read and write head is at the current position is, it is in a 100 track. Okay, so from 100 where it is moved from 100 to 23rd. Okay, so here you can see the graph. 23rd means example here 23rd. From 100 it means it moves back 23rd. So 100 minus 23, 77 tracks it moved. Okay, now next year from 23rd to again 89. 23rd to 89, where it is 89, you see the 89 where it is. So here first 100 to 23, again from 23 to 89, here like this. 23 to 89, again it is moved 66 tracks. Again from 89 to 137. 89 to 137, like this here. It's a time here, example 5 milliseconds you can take. So again from 89 to 132 tracks is nothing but again the difference you need to observe. 100 minus 23 is 77, 23 minus 89 is 66, 89 to 132 it is a 43. Again from 132 to 40, like this. Here it is a 42, 132, 87, 23. Okay, again from 42 to 187. Again 187. 187. Next from 187 to 60. So total you can see here, total 548 tracks it moved. Okay, so in this case what happened, the disk throughput will decrease because it is moved hundreds of tracks. Okay, so here what advantage is, whatever request, whenever request is getting, that is served first. So the input and output request, whatever response is there, that will be increased. But when you come to the disk scheduling, performance of the disk, that will be decreased. Why? Because from starting to 23 to 87, 87 to 132, again it is coming back. It is moving through a number of tracks. So unnecessarily it is moving a number of tracks. So when it is moving number of tracks, the performance of the disk will come down. So with this, first in first out, the advantage is it is providing a quick response to the user. But at the same time, what disadvantage sequentially? But at the same time, what disadvantages we have? It is decreasing the performance of disk scheduling. How it is decreasing? Because it is moving hundreds of tracks unnecessarily. Okay, so that is a disadvantage of a first in first out disk scheduling algorithm. Now we'll discuss in the next class. We'll discuss about shortest seek time scheduling. Okay.